Hello, everybody. This is 3SP, and I'm coming to you with another update. Why is the mainstream media committing fraud? America has become a banana republic. You know, the kind of place where the media doesn't report news. They instead decide what news you should be allowed to hear. The mainstream media determines the headlines, and since 99.9% of the people who run the media are either liberal Democrats or crony capitalists in bed with the DC swamp, they purposely choose headlines to confuse you, distract you, or sadly outright mislead you. That's called fraud. Case in point. What have you heard about for a solid week? A small KKK protest in Charlottesville. And then this past Friday, a quick interruption for Steve Bannon's firing. But isn't news about jobs and the economy dramatically improving under President Trump much more important to the average American? Under President Obama, we had the 8 worst GDP, gross domestic product years in the history of America. Our GDP was under 3% for all 8 years of Obama. That's never happened since the day our country was founded in 1776. And during the 1930s, the entire decade of the Great Depression, our combined GDP for the decade was 1.3%. Guess what our combined GDP was for 8 years under Obama? 1.3%. We just lived through an Obama Great Depression, except this time the media never reported it to the people. Barack Obama destroyed the U.S. economy and killed the entire American middle class with his obsession with social justice, green energy, open borders, big taxes, big regulations, Obamacare, and big environment. Yet the media said nothing. They never reported all this. Instead, the media used the words "in recovery" thousands of times during Obama's 8 years. How could the 8 worst years since 1776 be called a recovery? It's all about what headlines the media chooses. This was a massive cover-up of all failure of Obama's policies. Obama was a dream killer, a curse. He was Freddy Krueger. If Obama's economy was a movie, it would be Night of the Living Dead. But this week, the Atlanta Fed reported something remarkable. They predict the third quarter GDP of America will be 3.7%. That's explosive growth. That's like the Reagan years. President Trump has changed everything in only 7 months. Just by cutting a bunch of regulations and giving entrepreneurs, risk takers, CEOs, and small business owners hope, President Trump has brought us back from the dead. Donald Trump is a magician. He proved that with the right attitude towards business, you can erase 8 years of disaster and failure and misery in record time. But has this been a headline in the news? No. It's nowhere to be found. But it's not just GDP. Corporate earnings are setting records. Job growth is phenomenal. And there are more manufacturing jobs than at any time since before Obama took office. Border crossings are dramatically down, and food stamp use is down by 1.3 million. Trump accomplished all of this in only 7 months. Has any of this been in the headlines? No, it's nowhere to be found. Instead, we are fed a steady diet of one protest gone bad in Charlottesville, and Donald Trump's views on white extremism, the KKK, and neo-Nazis. Are you starting to get the picture? On the same weekend as the one heinous protest and tragic murder in Charlottesville, we had 9 murders and 33 shots on the streets of Chicago. This happens every weekend in Chicago, a city run 100% by Democrats for the past half century. Did you see that in the headlines? No. Why was one tragic murder at a protest in Charlottesville far more important than nonstop mayhem and murder on the streets of Obama's hometown of Chicago every single week, 52 weeks a year? At the same time, Debbie Wasserman Schultz is involved in what might be the biggest scandal in political history, allegedly involving bank fraud, extortion versus 30 Democrat congressmen, possible funding of terrorism with taxpayer money, espionage, a gigantic breach of national security, and the sale of state secrets to foreign enemies of America. Not in the headlines. At the same time, the FBI has reopened the investigation into the meeting on the airport tarmac between Attorney General Lynch and Bill Clinton. Not in the headlines. At the same time, Julian Assange and Kim Dotcom of WikiLeaks claim they have news that will shock the nation over the DNC leaks, Seth Rich's murder, and Robert Mueller's entire case against President Trump. Again, no headlines in the media. It kind of makes you wonder, why is the mainstream media committing fraud? And I'm just going to leave that right there. This is 3SP signing out.